I'm Tanya Fox, and you're listening to Fox Talks Business Podcast. I started my career in the corporate world, but always played to my own tune and loved to think outside of the box. This didn't always serve me well with the bosses, so I made the decision to become an entrepreneur. And that little seed of entrepreneurial curiosity continued to grow as I branched out into retail, service, and franchise businesses. Now, I have been fortunate to have amazing successes in the last 2 decades, but they did not come without some really big failures and even bigger lessons learned. And that's why I started this podcast, not just to share the failures, but to show you how you can turn every failure into a success. We're going to hear from some amazing humans from around the world that are going to share their stories of the good, the bad, and the motivational entrepreneurial life has to offer. After all, life is too short to make all of the mistakes yourself, so why not learn from each other? And of course, we're going to have some fun, because as I always say, well, you know what? I'll tell you that at the end of the episode. Hello, Foxly listeners. Welcome to the show today. I'm excited not only because I have somebody with the same name, but the same pronunciation, because this is a question that we had just before the show. So I'm so excited today to welcome Tanya to the show, not only because we're the same names, but she's going to talk to us about a topic that I think we hear so much about, but there's a different spin on this, and that's email marketing. So Tanya, thank you so much for coming on the show with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Tanya. And again, it's always good to have a fellow Tanya.
Exactly. So talk to us a little bit about your background, sort of, before you are doing what you're doing now.
So you see this big weird thing behind me? I actually used to be a professional musician, and I toured the country playing with a Celtic band. That is a harp. For those of you who are like, what the heck is that thing? So yes, this kind of harp, not this kind of harp. Big difference. But what we would do is we built up our email list because we wanted people to be able to find us. This was in the early days of websites. This was a while ago. But we had a website, and more importantly, we wanted people to know when we were coming back, or to be able to know that we were playing more shows in their area. So we started collecting email addresses so we could email folks and go, hey, we're going to be in your area next month. We're at these places. Come see the shows. And we sent out a monthly newsletter saying, this is what's going on. This is the new merchandise we have. This is the, our new album is going to be coming out, or this is our new band member, or we have these new tracks we're working on, or whatever it was. So we could just keep in touch with our fan base. And I built that email list one person at a time, writing their name on a piece of paper. And I was lucky if they had good handwriting.
I remember those days.
Serious. Oh my gosh. But that is really where I got my start in email marketing, was just getting people to sign up for that paper email list, which I then painstakingly transcribed into our database, and we would email people. This was before, this was right around the time that companies like AWeber were starting, and we needed to pay attention to things like, should we be using an ESP, or should we be sending from my email address,
right?
My email account. That's how early this was. This was all new stuff, and it's so many regulations have popped up around this because of stupid things people have been doing that we don't really want anyone to do. But the point is, you can build an email list out of just about any group of people if you want to. It's really much more about maintaining that email list. And I will tell you a story about that particular email list later on, because it's actually quite relevant to everything we're talking about here. But I think that it's important to remember that every single one of those people who signed up is a person.
Right?
They're not there. There were no bots on my list because I literally had everyone writing everything.
Yeah.
Out. So you have to remember that the people you're dealing with are people. This is a person-to-person relationship. Doesn't matter if you're selling B2B or B2C, we're all P2P. And I would encourage everyone to think about your email marketing as that first. So, but yeah, that's how I got started, was being a touring musician.
That's
Traveling around.
awesome. Well, and I think, we hear it all the time about how, getting that email list is important. We hear people talking about it, we've seen numerous times play out where, Instagram goes down, or, Facebook goes down, or wherever it is that you have, and people lose it, or their accounts get blocked, which we're hearing more and more about.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's this weird, I've been hearing a lot from a lot of our listeners and stuff. It's this weird sort of dynamic, because you're going, okay, I need to start doing this. I need to start doing this. But I've been in the game for a long time. I've been in business for a long time. So this feels weird to kind of have to start this. How do I even start asking? Because now we're not having a lot of that face-to-face interaction. Like you said, I remember the days where you'd have a sign-up sheet and be like, just write your email address and check this box that you agree. Like I remember doing, and then, yeah, trying to,
Please make sure you spell everything correctly.
yeah, could you print in capital letters for it all, so I know what you're writing? But it's,
what does that actually mean?
yeah,
all the
what
time,
is that?
so many times.
This is your
Oh my
email
God.
address? Yeah, everything was at Hotmail. I remember all those days. But I think, it's sort of that, we don't have that face-to-face interaction, which is a lot easier to get emails. I mean, I remember those days. It was super easy because they saw you, right? And like you said, it was that person to person. It was a lot easier to go, yeah, I'll kind of give you this information. Whereas today we're in a day and age where people, are clutching onto it a little bit more, because so many people are like, what's your email address? Like when you're at a store, when you're here, and people are just inundated. So talk to us a little bit about how are some ways that they can, sort of circumnavigate this weird place we're in right now of so much automation.
So there are a few ways. Number one, automation is good. It is your friend, because it means there's less for you to do as the business owner. Number two, it's also your customer's friend, because they can choose how much or how little they want to receive from you. So that means that if someone says, take me off your list, you don't have to go through and find their email address and remove them from whatever list that they're on. They can just do it themselves, or they can change how often they hear from you if you set up your automation right. So automation is a good thing. But in terms of getting that started, especially if you've been in business for a long time, and you haven't really done email or email nurturing or email marketing at all, something to remember is you still have a customer base. And if they've ordered from you online, you have their email address. So you can, it is legal, and I say legal for a reason here, legal to send one email out to everybody on your list once without getting their permission to send to them. Part of the reason that there have been a bunch of legalities around all of this is because of spamming. We've all gotten them.
Right.
I can't tell you how many random emails I get in my inboxes, just saying, oh yeah, this product, and, things that we don't even want to mention in polite company.
Yeah.
And what the government did was they put something into effect called the, and yes, this is real, Can Spam Act. Thank you, government acronyms. Always giggle when I talk about that. But the idea is you have to ask someone for their permission to email them, to make it clear that you are going to email them, and you have to give them a way to easily unsubscribe if they decide they don't want to hear from you anymore. I mean, this seems reasonable, right?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't show up at someone's house and say, I have to talk to you, I have to talk to you, I have to talk to you, let me in, and then like break down their door and sit there in the living room forever, right?
We hope not.
So think about your customers or anyone's inbox as their living room, right?
Right.
So people are kind of protective of their living room. It's their space. It's like, this is my space. I want it to be for me and my family and my stuff. So when you go barging in there, they're going to be like, why are you here? You are not a welcome guest. Whereas if they give you permission, and that's why it's called permission-based marketing, if they sign up on an email list, or they say, yeah, you can email me, however it is that you choose to make that happen, then they're welcoming you into their living room. And that's a huge, huge difference. It's because they're saying, yeah, I actually want to talk to you. I want to hear from you. I want to welcome you into the family. It's all good.
Right.
Pet the dog, there's the cat, bathroom's over there, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a huge difference in the way that we relate to each other. When you show up in someone's inbox, you want to be a guest and a respectful guest. You don't want to barge in and say, pay attention to me. I've got the thing that you want. You want to say, how can I help you?
Right. Because I think that's where sometimes people are like, what do I even say in that first email? Like, yeah, but this person's bought from me once 2 years ago or whatever, So can we talk a little bit about like, what are some of the things, like, I know you said like, try to be helpful. What are some of the ways that people can think of, how do I do this first email? So I'm not seeming like that guy, in a raincoat who's like, want to buy a watch, but that is enticing them to go, oh my gosh, yeah, like I remember you.
Okay, so first of all, another place automation can help you. Pardon me. You should be using an email service provider, ESP, or customer relationship management software, CRM. And that's what allows you to send bulk emails, right? So that first email, you can actually take your current customer list and upload it to that ESP or CRM. And like I said, you can send one email, and that email can say something as simple as, hey, you're on my customer list. You purchased, and then if you have a record of what they purchased, you put that into a contact field within that that ESP or CRM. So it can say, you purchased this, fabulous black belt or this particular piece of software from me, however long, in the last however long, right? And I just want you to know that I am starting up an email list. And the point of this email list is to let you know what's going on with my business, to help you find out more about what we do and how we can help you, and just to let you know more about our products and services, and just be a good neighbor. We want to hear from you too. We want to hear what you want from us. We want this to be a two-way street. And you send that one email, and at the end you say, if we can continue emailing you, please click here. And then again, in that ESP or CRM, when they click on that link, and it's usually called something like a trigger link or an activated link, depending on the system, then when they click on that link, that sends them through an automation that tags them. And you put them on that tag can be something like main email list or permission to email or whatever you will remember. And then you create your regular email list off of that list. So that lets you see who it is actually responding and who's interested. Will everyone respond right away? No, they won't. I mean, if they haven't heard from you in a long time, that happens.
Yeah.
However, it will get you started. And then if you have a Facebook group, if you have a social media presence, whatever it is, you can put something out there that people would be interested in in relation to your business. We call that a lead magnet or an opt-in bribe. And you say, hey, I'll give you X, that thing. It can be a coupon, it can be a digital download, it can be any number of things. If you give me your email address. And then that helps you grow that list, some of whom will have already been customers. So you'll have those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is how you get that list going from your initial stage. Now, I want to tell you a story about that list I built for my music business. So I stopped playing music for about 10 years. I was rebuilding my life after being in the band, doing other things. And I really I wasn't touring anymore. I wasn't playing anymore. So I'd stopped emailing this list. And then I finally got to where I was settled and I wanted to start again. And I was like, I still have this list. I guess I should email them. So I sent out what I referred to as my email apology sequence. And it was
Okay.
basically 3 emails. The first was, I'm really sorry I fell off the face of the planet. I apologize. Here's, the second one was, here's what's been going on in my life. And the third one is, here's what's going to happen going forward. And that, I did some other stuff regarding all of that. I made sure that I gave them gifts. Like I think I said, here's a free song because here's what
Right.
I've been doing. Here's a free song. So I made sure that I was opening up about what was going on with me. Like I said, I've stopped being a musician full time, but I still play music occasionally. Now I'm doing this whole copywriting thing, but I want you to know about what's going on. So by doing that, I did not get my entire list of like over 1,000 people back, but I got about a quarter of it back, which is pretty darn good for not having emailed from for 10 years.
Yeah. Well, and I
Right?
think, that added bonus of like when you're going back on a list that's far is really thinking about, how did I connect with these people? Because I've even done it like, and as many of my listeners know, I own multiple businesses and I bring my list with me usually when I go and some drop off and, because I don't stick with the same business. Like I took my craft store into business, which are two totally different, target audiences. But I think, still connecting with them on that level of how you first connected together, like you said, of the song, it sort of makes them go, oh yeah, it hits that bell of going, oh, I'm so glad she's still doing music again. And, you know,
Yeah.
bringing up the memories of, gosh, remember when we were young and we used to go out all the time?
Well, yeah. And I literally had people emailing me back going, I'm so glad you emailed me again. I've been wondering what happened to you. We still listen to your album,
Yeah.
or are you coming back to this and such a place anytime soon? And you're just like, wow, you actually remember me that well. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize how much of an impact you've had on someone's life, especially when you've actually met them in person. Most of these were people who are like, I remember seeing you at thus and such a library or at thus and such a Celtic festival, and we loved you, and it was so good to talk to you. So think about how you build that kind of relationship with your people,
Mm-hmm.
whether you meet them in real life or not, because that is what's going to actually help you grow your business because they will want to support you.
Yeah.
They will be like, oh my gosh, yes, Tanya, she's fantastic. So what? She's changing business. Of course, I want, I may not be her ideal client, but I bet I know 5 people who are. So yeah, I'm going to send, she's not doing crafts anymore, but she's doing this other thing. I'm going to send people her way.
Yeah.
So
Well, and the
that's,
funny thing is that what I found too is I have some people still on my list today who will email me and say, um, I know this isn't what you do right now, but I'm having like, I'm struggling with this pattern or something. Like, is there any way you would be able to like just help me out a little bit? And it's
yeah,
so funny because it comes across and stuff's like, this isn't anything related. And I'm like, yeah, but it's to me, I always feel like honored that they would still think of me and that even if they're just kind of keeping me in the list, or they haven't unsubscribed from my email, I'm like, obviously, there's still some kind of connection there. And to me, I just feel like that's, I don't, that helps me to not get lost in the numbers because I think a lot of business owners do that, right? They try this, they send it out to their list, and then they start seeing all of these like unsubscribes. And then they feel like, oh my God, this isn't working. Like, look at all of these people who have dropped off. How important do you feel it is to, pay attention to those numbers, but not get lost in I don't even know how to describe it, like not get lost in the popularity contest.
yes. So here is something that's really, really important to remember. And that is, again, people, always people. But first of all, because of the whole privacy thing in terms of all the metrics, because Apple's doing all of this privacy thing where basically your iPhone or your email client is now sort of opening the email for you as far as the ESPs and the CRMs are concerned. So it's sort of false data. That's not as prevalent and a metric anymore because some of them are legit and some of them aren't. In fact, a lot of ESPs are starting to include something called an Apple Privacy Open. So you can see who on your list, well, they opened the email, but they may not have actually read the email. The one that actually matters now is your click-through rate. Have a link, and this is important in every email, seriously, every email you possibly can, have a link that goes to something because that's actually how you track who's reading your email. If they read it and they click on the link, you know they actually opened it and paid attention to it.
Yeah.
Because Apple hasn't figured out a way to click on those yet, which is good for us. So your open rate is what you is sort of like a monitor thing. It's like, okay, and if like it suddenly crashes, then something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But if it stays around the same number, you're okay. But your click-through rate is what you want to pay attention to in terms of actual engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And then ideally, sales, if you see your sales go up, oh yeah, that's working. Okay, we're good. Unsubscribes. If your unsubscribe rate skyrockets, then you have a problem. Either you sent something people didn't like, and you shouldn't do that again, or you're sending to people who don't want to hear from you. I have people unsubscribe from my list all the time. Usually it's like one, maybe two, a week, a month. It's not a huge thing. That's normal. That's healthy. You take a moment, you mourn them, you release them, you thank them for self-selecting, you go on. If suddenly you're getting, you've got a list of 1,000 people and 250 of them unsubscribe, that's a problem. Something went wrong.
Right.
Again, either you've offended a quarter of your audience, or there's some technical glitch and you need to reach out to your ESP or CRM, or you've done some drastic change that your audience, they've just decided, no, we're done. And again, you have to accept that.
Right.
But you want to monitor that just so you can see if something crazy is happening. If it's, I think usually, and actually a lot of ESPs will trigger a warning to say, by the way, you got a lot of unsubscribes. And it's usually somewhere around 1% to 2%. Now, if your list is 250 people, 1% to 2% will happen sooner than if your list is 5,000.
Yeah.
So, that's sort of some of the percentages are things you have to look at in terms of your business and what's reasonable for you.
Well, and I love you say, like, look at the percentages as opposed to just the numbers, because, I have a business colleague who like constantly, will go, oh my God, I had people unsubscribe. And I'm like, but people walk away from you all the time. Like, I'm not saying that to be mean, but you could just be in a group, like standing in a semicircle somewhere, having a conversation, and somebody will just go like, and I've never been one who's like sticks to the numbers and is like really paranoid about it or whatever, however she is, that personality. But I love the idea of, instead of just looking at the numbers, look at what the percentage is. And then does that make sense? If it is that low percentage number, then you're still okay. And people will do that, right? Sometimes it's a mistake. Sometimes they just click too quickly. Sometimes, and I mean, I think we've all done it, but sometimes we forget when it's our list. We've subscribed to something and we're just like, I subscribe to this and I get it every week. I just did this yesterday. I get this email every single week. I have not read it in months. I don't even know why I keep having it. I just see it and I go, oh yeah. And then I delete it. I'm not even reading it. So it's not anything wrong. The emails might be fantastic, but for some reason I'm not getting to it. I just hit unsubscribe. So it's sort of one of those things that you have to go, it's part of the game, I guess.
We all go through and clean up our inboxes every once in a while, right? It happens. We all go through and we clean up the living room.
Right.
We pick up the toys, we vacuum, we put things, we put the remotes where we can find them, whatever that may be. We vacuum up all the cat hair. Thank you very much, my cat behind me. It's it, you have to respect that people have lives.
Right.
And we want to filter what it is that's coming into our inboxes. Now, I want to actually go back to something you talked about a little earlier, which and that we talked about, was that whole letting people into your living room thing, and it's permission-based marketing. So the reason that you email someone on a regular basis is to remind them of your existence. So, and I think this is what most businesses miss, and this is sort of the hill that I will die on, if you will, is that you have to nurture this relationship. You can't walk into someone's living room, say, hey, I'm so happy to be here, and then like leave, and then show up again like 3 months later and go, hey, I'm here, and have them go, who are you? Not expect them to go, who are you again? Why are you here?
Yeah. Do I know you?
Yeah. So the whole point of having an email list is to nurture that list. And that is to send that weekly email that says, hey, this is what we've got going on this week. And whether it's, here are our specials, or here's the cool event that we just sponsored for our community, or here's a picture of my cat, which I have totally done. I will totally send pictures of this particular cat in my emails. He's adorable. Look at him.
It's very adorable.
So, it's whatever it is that you are doing to build that relationship with your community, with your subscribers, do that regularly. And then when you send that email that goes, oh my gosh, you guys, we're launching this fabulous new product, or, oh, we're having this huge sale, then people are going to be more likely to buy from you, as opposed to buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, and then silence until you want them to buy your stuff again.
Because I think we
So
see that so often. And I think that those are, I'm glad you brought this up, because I think that's two questions. I don't want to be annoying, right? I'm like, how much is too much? Because we've all been on the receiving end of that. Like, oh, stores, I feel like retail stores have got to get their shit together, because I don't know how many times I've like been like, yeah, I really love your product, I'll sign up. And then it's like every day, 5 times a day, they're sending me stuff. And I'm like, good Lord, I don't have time to read all of your shit.
oh
Like,
no.
you just summarize it and send it at the end. But I also like what you said about, I think sometimes people are also like, how many times do I send it? And what if I'm not really too sure what to send? Like, does it have to be this huge, impactful email? Because I don't know if I can do that once a week.
Right. So the answer is send stuff that is helpful. And that is literally what I do every single week. I send two emails a week for my business. If you were on my list, you would get 2 emails a week from me. One is a blog post, and basically it's a very short email that just says, hey, here's what the blog post is about, go read it. Because I don't want to tell them what's in the blog post. I want them to go read the
To go
blog post. That
click that
gets
link.
that click, right?
See, I was listening.
Good. And the other one is usually either, some sort of, hey, this product is available, or hey, this is what I'm doing. Click here to find out more about it. And the reason I do that is, again, to make sure they're engaged, because I want that link in there, but also to get feedback from them. Last week, I sent an email that said, hey, I want to hear more about your business. Tell me what it is you love about doing what you do. I want to hear about it. I just want to know. I'm curious. Tell me about yourselves. And I got several responses back, which was fantastic. This week, I'm actually, like right before we hopped on, I was writing an email saying, do you want to pick my brain for 30 minutes? Because I just want to help. I want people to click on a link to schedule a call with me, and we'll just talk about their business for 30 minutes. They get help from me, a professional looking at their business and how email marketing can help them. I get information about their business so I can figure out what it is that they need and what kinds of products that I could create to help them. Also, what kind of blog posts they want to know, what kind of information I can be putting out to help them. In those emails in the future, you need to be able to talk to your customers in some way, shape, or form. And email is actually a great way to do it because it's a two-way street. People can click the reply button and email you back. That's just another form of engagement.
Yeah. And I think asking those questions help you with that content piece, because I think sometimes I know I have, I think we've all gotten into that little bit of writer's block where we're like, I don't know, I feel like I've talked everything until I'm, dead in the face. Or I don't remember what I talked about where. Like that's a common one for me. Well, I don't remember who I said what to when. Like I'm as surprised as everybody else of what comes out of my mouth a lot of the times. And so I think that, by doing those, like those emails, like you said, of saying like, tell me a little bit about yourself, tell me like kind of what's going on with you, you get those questions that you can answer that become really great content, because they're going, tell me about this. And you're like, well, if one person wants to know, chances are
at least 10 other people will want to
yeah,
know this information.
like they're helping you write your blog posts essentially for you. The other one that I liked that you said too that I've done is, I've asked the tell me about your business. What I've also done is really looked at them, and if somebody was doing something really cool, I started a feature that I would send out of saying like, I want to feature this person, this business that is doing something that's like super cool. And it was a way for me to kind of knock down one of those emails because my life was getting hectic. So I would like do like, this is the topics I want to do for the week. And it was allowing me to feature other people because their stuff is really cool. And it's really easy to write about other people, right?
So much easier than writing about yourself.
And it gives them exposure. And then what I was finding it was also doing was my engagement went up because other people were like, well, I want to be featured. How do I get, how am I able to do that? So it was a way for me to kind of kickstart that engagement, because I was at a point where I felt like I was constantly, and I'd like to talk about this too, because I felt like I was constantly at a point where I was sending emails, but I wasn't getting the response, right? So it was like, hello? Is anybody reading this? Am I wasting my time? Do you have tips on how people can kind of, when they're in that situation to, sort of change that, or get an answer back when they're saying, is there anybody out there?
Yeah. So that whole reply to thing is the easiest way. Tell me what you think of this. Hit reply to this email and tell me what you think. Or ask me a question.
Right.
Reply to this email and ask your question. And by the way, a couple of the easiest ways to come up with topics to write about your email for your emails. What are the questions that everyone asks about your product or service? Because there are at least 5, if not 20, that
what do you kind of go, okay, so because you've answered it 400 times.
Right. But that's the other thing to remember is you may have answered it 400 times, but they don't know.
Yeah. They've only asked it once.
Yeah. We are so used to living in the world that we live in. We assume everyone knows it. No, they don't. So start with all of the really, really basic stuff, because people just coming into your world are going to be like, I had no idea. Really? You can do that? That's so cool. And other people who have maybe read this before, but forgot, will be like, oh, I totally forgot about that. I need to go do XYZ. Or I have that product, I should go get it. Or I was looking at that product, I should really go get it.
Yeah.
So think about it in terms of you may be the expert, but you're sharing your knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that knowledge is going to be really basic knowledge. Some of it can be more advanced. And yes, that's the stuff that excites us because we're the geeks, right? We're the ones who love geeking out on this stuff. Case in point, you and I are doing this. But there are lots of people who've never done this. And that's why we're here. We are being the experts for all of you out there who are like, I should really do this email.
Yeah.
So, and I want to take a moment to talk about lead magnets, because I mentioned them earlier. So a lead magnet, a friend of mine described it, and I'd love this comparison, as it's like you're selling a loaf of bread, right? And the loaf is your whole product, but you take that really nice slice in the middle, the really good one, like right after it's come out of the oven, you cut it in half, you give them that slice, slather it with a little butter, whatever it is. That's your lead magnet. What is the thing that's going to be really engaging and tasty? What is it that's, or another way to look at it is, what is the small, quick win you can give them that will draw them further into your world, into your product or service? So my lead magnet, as an example, is people, the most common thing I get is, I never know what to write, just like
Right.
you said. I have no idea what to write. My lead magnet is a list of 30 subject lines and writing prompts. So I call it 30 subject lines to keep your subscribers opening and reading every email. And that's exactly what it is. And you could literally recycle these if you wanted to, just putting different stuff in there every time. Because that's what I want to do. I want to get people writing. That's the whole point. And that, I mean, I have people who come back to me going, I loved that list. I still use that list. And that makes me so happy. And
Yeah.
then they end up getting something from me. They buy the email course that teaches them how to write better emails. They, you know, or they buy that course to revive their email list, or I show them how to do that, whatever it is. But the point is, you're helping. You're giving them the key to get started. The rest of your product or service is what helps them finish, what helps them get where it is they really want to be. And, you know, that can literally be a coupon for your product or service. How easy is that?
Yeah.
You know, it can be a free trial. It can be a download. Like if you're a bicycle shop, you know, you give a list of the 5 most important pieces of gear every bicyclist needs, besides the bicycle, right?
Make sure
Whatever
that's
it
on the
is.
list. Make that number 6.
That's kind of inherent. It's like, I've got this bike now. What do I need to go out and ride it? Well, you need a helmet. You need a light. You know, it's like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's like, what are the things that you can help someone get started with whatever it is that they really want to do to achieve their goal? Because remember, we are in business to serve. We are not in business to take someone's money. We are here to serve. So how is it that you are helping other people reach their goals, achieve their dreams? That's what you're actually selling, is their dreams.
Yeah.
Not yours. Yours are inherent in there. It'll all come together. But what is it that you can get them into your world with so that they're excited about what it is they're trying to do?
Yeah. And I find too, what happens a lot, you know, with entrepreneurs, and I see this a lot with my clients, is they're like, well, I don't want to give away too much. And I'm like, give it all away. Like I give it all away. I'm like, you can take it all. You can have it all.
Yeah.
Because ideally, at the end of the day, you can choose to figure this all out on your own, or you can just pay somebody to do it. No different than the CRMs, right? Like I always say, start with it. Don't end with it. Don't build a list and then put it in. Because one of the things that, you know, for me, that was like a huge selling point that I never, you know, I wish I would have thought of it a lot earlier, was the ability that CRMs have to tag everybody on how they came in, and how useful that was for me, not to go, where did I meet? Because the older I get, the more I'm like, where did I meet this person again? Where did I get their name? Like, I remember doing that way back when, like you said, when we were doing, where did I meet this person? Where did I connect with them? Because if I wanted to send a specific email to a certain group, I had to remember that or go to an Excel list to figure it out. That is so beneficial in CRMs that you can be like, oh, I pulled you in because of this lead magnet. Here's something else, right? It becomes a fishing line.
Yeah. Oh, you're interested in this thing over here. Let's make sure you get this notification
Yeah.
about this upcoming sale, or about this upcoming product launch, or about this tweak we're making, so that you know what's going on. Whereas if you're interested in this product over here, you're going to get a whole different email. And a lot of the ESPs and CRMs can help you customize that.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if it's the person who bought the blue backpack, well, the, you know, matching suitcase is coming available. Whereas if this person over here bought the brown leather hiking shoes. Well, we've got these great socks coming up, and those are just two random, examples.
Yeah.
But you want to customize as much as you can, because then you're reaching a more, yes, everyone coming into your list is technically your target audience, because the idea is you put a lead magnet out there that attracts people to your business. But what you want is to be able to target people within that audience to make sure they get what it is they want and need.
Right.
So that information is invaluable. I tag people by the blog post they opt in on. I put a lot of my blog posts have what I call content upgrades on them. So basically, it's something about the blog post that someone can opt in to get. So like, here's the checklist that I, mentioned in the blog post. Here's like the cheat sheet version. Here's the, or here's a quick list of things that will help you with these things, whatever it is. And it's specific to that blog post. Well, I tag them on that blog post so that I can say, oh, they read this, so they're interested in this subject, right?
Yeah.
So and the more you can narrow your audience down like that, the better you'll be able to serve them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that in there that you want to be able to help people with. And I think the other thing that I would strongly recommend is, when you get that email list going, when you get those people coming in, welcome them properly.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Oh my God, one of my favorite subjects. So 3 things that need to happen in that first email, and I recommend sending it as an email. Do not just give them the thing on the thank you page, whatever the thing is. Send them an email. Number 1, it helps train them to open your emails.
Right.
That's what we're all about. It also teaches their ISP, email, internet service provider, so Gmail, Yahoo Mail, whatever it is, Apple Mail, that they want to hear from you. It's keeping that living room door open. And that way your emails don't get caught in their spam filters.
Right.
Very important thing. So you ask them, check your inbox. That's what you put on that thank you page. Thank you for downloading whatever it is. Go check your inbox. And then they open that email and you say, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. Here's what you get you thing. And then they click on that button. That shows their engagement.
Right.
Then you say, here's what happens next. And you tell them how often you are going to email them, so that an expectation is set. So I say, I'll email you twice a week, on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. It's like, okay, I know this now.
Right.
Great. And that sets the expectation in their mind that they're going to hear from me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They should look for those emails.
Yeah. So then it's not like, oh my gosh, what? Well, I already got something from you.
Right. And then next, ask them to whitelist your email address. That's just going to help. That's going to help get that email into their inbox. So those are the 3 most important things that need to happen. I personally send about 4 to 5 emails. Those first 4 to 5 emails are, here's what you need to do first. Here's the thing. Here's what you need to know. Here's a little bit about me. Here's a helpful blog post. And then I give them an opportunity to buy from me. I say, here's the product I recommend for you based on how you came in. Because that is the point from our end, is to get them into our world.
Mm-hmm.
Do I make it, the absolute last chance they can buy? No, absolutely not. But here's your chance. And if it takes them a while, that's fine. They can hang out. And if they buy right away, great. How else can I support you? What support do you need with this product? So it's really all about, and some of this can be automation, and like obviously my welcome sequence is automated,
right?
But it's customized to each product coming in. But also, some of it is one-on-one. If people are having tech problems, I'm like, how can I help? Do we need to get on a Zoom call? Let me help you out here. So really, it's really about you're building that relationship. That's really, to me, what email is all about. You send the nurture emails every week or so, however often is your cadence, and that is for you. I only email my music list once a month.
Right.
That's really all I need to do. But my business list, my copywriting and email teaching list, that goes out twice a week. So figure out what that cadence is for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then make sure that you're helping. It's really about serving. It's really about building this relationship. And then that way you can continue to build that relationship once they become customers, because that is going to not only make them happy, loyal customers, but get them to refer you to all of their friends.
Yeah. Which is what you want, because that's how we build, right?
Right.
So on the sort of back end of it, and I'm thinking of this because I received one of those emails that we get all the time that you're like, this is such an automated email, because it said like,
Yeah.
hi, name in brackets, not my name, just name. And then staggered throughout the email was all of these, right? Which is always like, yeah, I see you kind of going, oh my God, it's the dreaded one of what we send out. How often do you suggest, like, just the name one? Because the context, I know that's a whole other thing. How often do you suggest that people do go in to their back end and check what is going on? Because I think a lot of times that gets sent out, and every now and then it is just an oops, the system kind of just mucks up. But how often do you just like suggest that you go in and look through that, or have somebody look through that to make sure people have entered stuff the way it should be?
So first of all, you do actually want to maintain your automations. And for email, you can look at the open rates. You can look at those click-through rates and those unsubscribe rates, just like you would for your broadcast emails. It's like, okay, are people opening my first email? Yes, good. Are they opening the second one? Where is it falling off? What do I need to go in and fix? Do I need to change out the subject line? Do I need to change the offer I'm making? Do I need to change, what the click, the opportunity they have to click on? What is it? How can I, like, if they're opening but they're not clicking, well, then you need to give them something different to click on. If they're not opening, you need to change your subject line because they're not interested. Or, so it's like, what is it that you can do to increase that engagement? And again, this is something you should ask people when you get to talk to them in person, whether it's on the phone or in an email conversation or what have you. Did you actually open that first email you got from me?
Mm-hmm.
Have you used the thing that you downloaded? Was that helpful? Is there something that would be more helpful? In that second email, did you read that? Just because getting this feedback is actually really useful to you. So again, you can be serving them better. So a lot of this, I mean, and yes, it can be time consuming.
Right.
Welcome to being a business owner. This is what we do. But it's also really thinking about that journey that our customers go through. We've all heard about the buyer's journey, right? There's the whole totally unaware to fully aware and ready to buy process.
Right.
Or, I love the comparison to the hero's journey, which is, for those of you who've watched Star Wars or pretty much any standard movie, is that standard, starting out from place of ignorance, getting the mentor, going through the trials, returning to their people with their treasure to share. And, and then, it's like, that's a very standard, it's a mono myth, which is actually the coin termed by Joseph Campbell, who came up with this idea of the hero's journey. And we all go through that as buyers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about, we're not the hero as the business owner, we're the mentor.
Yeah.
Right? That's where we fit into that story. We have to give the hero the thing that they need to go slay their own dragon.
Yeah.
So, and then be able to bring the treasure back to their community. So what is it that they need? How are we best serving them as their mentor?
And I love, that deciding when, like how often you can send out to be consistent is important. Because you don't want to do that, the drop off, but you also never know. Like I just recently, the last time I had opened, I have a year-long program, and the last time I opened it, I had a lady who's been on my list since I first started it. Like she was one of the pen to paper. So I don't even want to say how long that long ago that was. It was a long time. She's been on my list for over 15 years, has bought zero things, but pays attention to everything, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, this time she came in and bought, like, she's like, I've been watching you forever. I just like, I wasn't ready. I didn't know what happened, and bought like the largest ticket item I ever had. No questions asked. Just was like, here, take all of the money. Here it all is. And it was a great reminder for me to go, you know, sometimes we forget that there are people sitting there watching, and maybe they're not engaging in the way we think they should, but I never, like, it was a good reminder to go, never discount the quiet one in the corner.
Yep.
Cause she is like the raving fan. Like she has brought, like, I think she brought herself, and then she brought 3 other people into the group.
Oh, how wonderful.
Right?
That's
Like,
the
I was
best
just like, but if
kind.
I would have discounted her or, like, written it off or, not
Mhm.
reached out, and what I do is I kinda go in and go, "Who's kind of been opening everything but not interacting with me?" And then I will send them, like you said, that personal email to go, "Hey, how are things going with you?" Because I wanna know, like, "You keep opening everything, you keep taking all of my free stuff, like, what's up in your, in your kinda world," sort of
Mhm.
thing. But this was a good reminder to go, I have not done that in a couple of years, of reaching out to those people who are engaging but not connecting, and realizing sometimes it's just the shy person in the room, who needs that little pushover, or who just wants to know they're not just going to be a number, kind of
Right.
thing.
Well, and I think that that's something also really important to remember is we're all on our own journey.
Right.
And when you receive whatever it is that you need to do your thing, is dependent on your journey, not on my journey. So, I may say, oh my gosh, you should be doing email marketing right now. But if you're not ready, because your business just isn't at that point, or you haven't started your business yet and you're not sure what you want to do, but I keep emailing you about, so this is what email marketing could do for you. And you start that business, then you'll be like, okay, I'm ready. I've
Yeah.
got to do this thing. And Tanya's been telling me I have to do this for years. So, okay, it's time. How do I do this?
Yeah.
you know? So I think that that's the thing that we as business owners have to remember. And this is why I think email marketing is so important is yes, there will be people who see your Facebook ad or your social, your Google ad and buy right away. Those are the people who are at that point of the journey where they're ready. But there are a lot of other people who saw that ad, but they are not ready.
Mhm.
So the reason you get them on your email list is so that when they are ready, you're there for them. You haven't abandoned them. They're not going off and trying to do this search all over again. They've been with you all along this journey of theirs, and they're finally like, you've been here with me this whole time. I really appreciate all the help you've given me. I'm ready to go now.
Mhm.
Take my hand. Here we go. I'm
Yeah.
ready.
Lead me where to.
And
So,
that is a steady stream of people when you
yeah.
do it right. So as opposed to you have that big launch and you have a huge influx of people and then nothing, instead you have this steady stream going along, and I think that's what really matters.
So, this question just popped up into my head. This is one of the rabbit holes. Let's jump down.
Okay.
So, because at the beginning, I kind of, and this will bring us full circle, I guess. At the beginning, I talked about a lot about how important your email list is, because, if you're just connecting people on social media, you don't really own it. Is there anything that people should be paying attention to do to also save this email list? Because again, we're talking about, we're putting it on on a CRM. We're essentially still using somebody else's product to hold all of these addresses for us. Is
Right.
there another step people should be taking to make sure they still have those if something happens to the CRM?
So, like if you're really worried about it, most CRMs are, They work so hard to keep everything shipshape because they know what precious cargo they hold for us.
Right.
Right. But if you're genuinely worried, download that list every once in a while. If you're really worried, every 3 months. If you're cautious, every 6 months to a year. So you actually have it on a spreadsheet in, a CSV file on your computer, and that it's there. Then you have it, put it on a backup drive. I mean, ultimately, all digital media is fallible. So are human brains. So is paper.
Right.
Will you lose people? Yeah, you will. That is the nature of things. Also, clean your list regularly because that just keeps it healthy. There are plenty of list cleaning services out there that will say, by the way, this person hasn't checked this address in 3 years. You should not be emailing them. Or this email address is no longer valid. They left the company 5 years ago. Or, that type of thing.
Right.
That's what
Yeah.
those services do. And that just keeps your list clean and healthy and makes your ESP happy because it's protecting their sender reputation. But it also is good for engagement for you because when you do that and you get rid of a bunch of people who haven't been checking their emails, that improves all of your statistics because
I was going to say, wouldn't that improve your statistics? Because if you
Yes.
have all of these people, then it's going, you got
Exactly.
like a shit ton of people who don't even open your stuff.
I
Right.
literally had a client who our ESP almost shut us down because he just never cleaned his list. And I finally, I tried to send something and I'm like, why can't I send anything? And I contacted the ESP and they're like, haven't you gotten any of our emails? Well, they all went to admin, which nobody checked. It's the general email box. And they said, yeah, we need you to clean your list before you send anything else. And I was like, oh, yeah, let me go do that. I'll take care of that right now.
Yeah.
And it really matters because you have to remember that we are basically borrowing the sender reputation, meaning the health of our ESP. So they don't want people spamming anyone from their system because that's bad for them. Now so this is the whole blacklisting thing, which is a whole nother rabbit hole. So your sender reputation is how all of the ISPs, so again, Gmail, Apple Mail, Yahoo Mail, all of those see you and your domain. So the reason that everyone freaks out about spam is sometimes your domain name gets stolen and then you get a bad sender reputation through no fault of your own. And that's a huge deal. But if you are sending emails to people who no longer exist or who don't check your emails, the ISPs will also give you a bad sender reputation saying, we're not going to let this person through.
Right.
And so that will eventually mean that none of your emails will get through. Like you can't email your mother from that email address. And that's a big deal.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I've seen people have to rebuild their entire sender reputation, or they just start over entirely with a whole new domain because they have to. They don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So there's, good list hygiene is important.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a lot to this whole email marketing thing. But when you do it right, it can be so beneficial for you and your business and your customers because they're getting what they need. Your subscribers are getting what they need. They're going along their journey and getting your help. You're getting what you want because you want a thriving business and to be able to help these people. So it's a win-win-win all around. It's just a matter of doing it to everyone's benefit.
So we're going to have the link of this 30 subject lines for people to kind of get started in writing. And I always say, whether you're writing an email or you're writing a book or you're writing a song or whatever, like just write. You'll get better if you do it and put it out there than waiting for everything to be perfect. Because I know I've done that a lot in my life. But for those that are, are wanting to dip their toe in and are maybe, let's say, scared or just not at a point where they feel like they can hire somebody for this, but they know they want to do a CRM. Are there any that you would recommend that are user friendly for people starting out? Because I know sometimes you get into these back ends and you're like, I don't understand what is happening. And of course, we're at a stage where there are so many.
Oh, yeah.
So what is one that is your favorite that would be a good starter for somebody to kind of see if this is an avenue for them?
So some of that does depend on the size of your business and what you're trying to do. So for a small business just starting out, no or very small email list, I like MailerLite.
Okay.
They have a freemium plan. This is actually what I use for my music list because my music list isn't that big. And basically for, like up to, I think, like, I want to say maybe 500 people,
Okay.
you can use their system basically for free, minus some of their fancier options.
Okay.
And it's a perfectly good system. It gives you everything you need. You get forms, you can use their builder, their email builder, their page builder, all of that stuff.
Okay.
And it's a good system. It's easy to use and it integrates with a lot of stuff. So I like that.
Okay.
If you have a larger business with more moving parts and you need some of the fancier automation, I like ActiveCampaign. It's
Okay.
more expensive. You do actually have to pay for it, but it's got some really nice customization stuff. If you're more on the e-commerce side of the world, I like Klaviyo because they've got a lot more of the customization, this kind of backpack, this kind of color, you bought it on this date. So they've got a lot more of that ability to customize someone's emails based on purchase, for example. So, I think a lot of it does depend on what you're trying to do with your email. Again, most basic, MailerLite, it's a really good place to start. Then you go up from there. But things you want to look out for is a system that will do what you need it to do. And I think that's something that you need to determine. So if you want to send those really customized emails, look for a company that does that. If you want to just send a weekly email to get started, look for a company that will let you do that. If you need to be able to segment your entire list really carefully so you can customize stuff based on those segments, look for a company that will let you do that. If you need to be able to manage that customer database, look for one that adds a CRM, customer relationship management, on top. So as you say, there's a lot of them out there, a lot. But there's something out there for everyone in some way, shape, or form. So, but those are the ones that I would probably recommend. Top is, like I said, MailerLite, ActiveCampaign, Klaviyo, depending on what you're doing. Drip is another one I like for e-commerce. And I actually used to use it for my broadcast emails. So those would be the ones that I would recommend.
Yeah. And I think that's great. And I appreciate you being, actually naming names, let's say, because I think sometimes people, they're like, okay, like I want to do this and I want to do it right from the beginning. So I'm not, I don't want to type all of those email addresses in manually. But, actually thinking, what do I want to do right now? But where would I like this to go? And then am I picking the one that I'll be able to grow with? Right. Because learning all of that stuff is, I've gotten into the back end of quite a few of them and been like, oh my God, this was great when I first started, but like, I hate this system,
But now it doesn't serve my needs.
Yeah.
So, this is a reason I love tags, by the way. We were talking about tags earlier, is because when you tag people, you can easily pick them up and move them over to whatever this new system is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I highly recommend tags.
Well, we'll make sure we have the links to, where people can, get your free lead right away.
Yes.
But if somebody is out there and they're like, okay, I know I want to do this, but I know I'm going to need help because this is not my area of expertise. And I always say, if it's not something that you get super excited about, it's something that you need to hire out. So if they're like, I really love what Tanya's putting down, where can they go to find out more about you, to get their name on your email list, to work with you? What is the best place for them to find you?
You can find me at Tanya Brody Copywriter, all one word, .com. That is my website. Go read the blog posts, sign up for the email list. You can see my lead magnet right there on the website. And, contact me. I would love to talk to you, even if it's just you need to pick my brain for a little while. Happy to do that. So, and because I'm really all about getting people out there doing this because I think it's so important for businesses. And, do I want you to buy my courses? Of course I do. That's part of my business. But I also want to make sure that you're doing what you need to do for your business.
Well, and I love that approach, because that is the same approach as me, which is I think why we connected together. Like I always say, the more money you're making, and I did this from when I was an accountant, the more money I can have you making, the more money I make. I am so unabashful at saying I have no problem riding your curtails to success.
Mhm.
I will make you
Well,
soar and then I'll just follow behind you.
and that's just it, is when we help our people thrive, we get to thrive too,
Yeah.
and it's, if we're all helping each other thrive, doesn't that just make the world a better place in general?
Yeah. And I talk a
You
lot
know?
about collaborations. And let me tell you,
Oh,
having
yeah.
that email list is the easiest way
Oh,
to be like,
yeah.
I'm looking for somebody, I need somebody, I'm doing this project, who is in, because people like they're already vied into me. It's not like trying, I'm not feeling like I'm walking in the dark going, hi, do you want to be friends? Like it's just so much easier, like you said, because you've built that person to person relationship through this list.
Mhm.
When you need something or when you're looking to sell something, you're doing it to people who want to be sold to, obviously, if you're doing it correctly.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, when someone comes to you and says, I have this thing that I think would really help your people, they're trusting you as someone to represent them. And you can say, hey, I just met this person who does XYZ. This is really going to help you in this way. And that way, that's another way to grow, for them to grow their list, and they can introduce you to their list of emails. And again, we're helping each other thrive. We're connecting each other
Yeah.
into this world where, so we're all going, oh, yeah. I mean, like, I do email marketing, right? That's my thing. I don't build websites anymore, for example. I used to do some of that, but I'm just not that good a coder. I'm sorry. So, if I can connect my people with someone I trust, yeah, I'm going to do that. And if they are going to connect me with their people because they trust me for email marketing, that helps everyone on both lists.
Yeah.
So, it's not just, that you can find your people you want to collaborate within your own list. It's also that you can help others collaborate within the environments that they need to collaborate in. And we can all just work together to help each other. And, yes, that's my whole kumbaya moment. But I think it's so important to think like that, because it does actually help us all thrive.
Yeah. Well, and I always say, climbing to the top of a mountain by yourself is really boring, because who the hell are you going to
Yeah,
celebrate with?
exactly.
And by the way, nobody would care.
Yeah.
And I
I
would
mean, yeah,
say the only reason anybody cares that somebody else made it to Mount Everest is because somebody else was with them and made it with them. That's the only reason. Otherwise, you'd be like, good for you. I don't care. I'm not there. I'm at the bottom.
yeah, right.
I love that. Well, Tanya, thank you so much for joining me today, for coming on the show, for, I think really just opening up people's eyes to, this doesn't have to be something that you can only do when you first started your business. This is something that you can start right now, and that you should, no matter how long you've been in business. Or also, like your story is that if you haven't reached out, but you have that list, now's a good time to go back and go, hi, remember me, and start relive that again, that it can be resurrected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because those people are out there. They wanted to hear from you at some point for one reason or another. So maybe they still do. And if they don't, maybe they know someone who does.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Well, we'll have all of the links where everybody can get a hold of you and connect with you, learn more about you, and then hopefully sign up for your email list so they can get even more information. It has been an absolute pleasure.
pleasure talking to you too, Tanya.
You can't do better than be with somebody who has the same name and pronunciation as you. But what I really loved about what Tanya was talking to us about and all of her tips was, this doesn't have to be something that is absolute perfection when you start out. This is really about communicating. It's not about always selling also. And that was a point that I hope was drilled home for you, that it's not always about only emailing them when you have something to sell. It's about connecting. It's about helping. It's about sharing. It's about letting them in to discover, who are you? Who are you behind the scenes? Because if you can get that across to your audience, no matter what type of business you're in, there's a little bit more of a buy-in, because you're not just a name, you're not just a product, you're a person. And there is just more loyalty connected to people than there are items. So definitely something to think about. And if you are really stuck and going, consistency, thinking of things to write about is something that I struggle with, then make sure you go into the show notes. We are going to have her list of 30 things to help you sort of jumpstart that brain, jumpstart that writing. And, I would make the suggestion of, if you're kind of nervous about this, sit down, schedule some time to sit down and write 4 emails. If you do that, you've got a month's worth of connection already as you're building this list. And don't forget, that's 4 on top of your welcome sequence that she talked about. So make sure you go back and listen to that, and make sure you have all of those key things when you're welcoming all of these new people to your list. I want to know also, how are you doing with your email list? I don't care if you have one person. I don't care if you have 10,000 people. I want to know, where is your number at? And what is the one question you wish you could get answered? Because I'm happy to reach out and have Tanya on the show again. She was an amazing guest, and I'm going to get those questions answered for you. So no matter what it is that you're doing today, whether you're starting with 1 or 1,000, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you start, and also make sure that you have fun. Because as I always say, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?